Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Shut Up and Read. Today I'm back with yet another TBR. For the month of February, I found so many readathons to be a part of that I thought it would actually be best for me to film a TBR for all the readathons that I'm planning to participate for the month of February. So let's just get right into it. So first and foremost, information on the 3 readathons I'm planning to participate in the month of February. The first readathon is the booktube games. This one lasts the entire month of February. There are 5 teams and the goal of this readathon is to read as many pages as possible. At the end of the month, whichever team reads the most pages wins, and this readathon is probably by far the most competitive I've ever been in. I'm on team Camp Half-Blood, so super excited for that. The second one is vaLITines, which also lasts for the entire month of February, and this one is like a bookish bingo. And the third and final readathon that I want to do is Fierce Female Readathon, and that one lasts from February 15th to February 28th. This readathon is much more straightforward. They're just a number of reading challenges and you're just supposed to have fun and read as much as possible to apply for those reading challenges. So first and foremost, the booktube games. So for the booktube games, there are 4 challenges, one for every single week. I'm just going to read it off really quickly. The first challenge, which is the first week, is to read the group book. The second challenge, which is for the second week, is just to read in a place that isn't normally acceptable for 5 minutes, and that's for example like reading in a church, during a class, in a movie theater, etc. Then the third challenge, which is for the third week, is to do a 24-hour readathon. This one you can do with anyone, you can do it by yourself, from your team, it doesn't really matter, but you just have to do a 24-hour readathon. And the last and final challenge, which is for the last week, which also ends up going to March 1st actually, is to do a scavenger hunt. A host from your team will be uploading a video and your task is to find the emoji that is for your team that is hidden in their video. Comment or send them this timestamp of where it is and the location. So all the challenges are definitely very straightforward. I'm really excited for it. So while I don't have a specific TBR for this readathon, because the goal is just to read as many pages as possible, and I already have my January/February TBR that I did already, so I'm still going to try to work through those for the month of February. I also have my TBR for the other 2 readathons that are more specific. So with that being said, I don't have an actual TBR for the booktube games, except of course to read the group book, and that is Circe by Madeline Miller. Honestly, I am so excited for this book. I didn't realize that this was the group book until days after, I think, of joining this booktube games, and when I saw that this was going to be the group book, I was like yes, because I have been dying to read this book for the longest time. I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet, but this is basically based on Greek mythology of Circe, who is the witch or sorceress that we all know from, I want to say it's the Odyssey or the Iliad. I don't really remember which original book it's from, but this is based off her story and from when she's a child to when she becomes the sorceress that we know. And I'm really fascinated by this book because I love Greek mythology, which is why I'm on Team Camp Half-Blood. So I'm just really excited to see where this book will take me and just get a different perspective on Circe other than the Circe that we all know. So this will be the first book that I plan to read for the month of February, because this is supposed to be done during the first week of February anyways. And the second readathon that I plan to do for the month of February is vaLITines, and this one, like I said, lasts for the entire month of February. This one has a lot more components to it. There is the bookish Cupid, then the second component is the buddy read roulette, and then the third and final component is the book bingo, and this one also includes the reading challenges. So obviously I don't think you're supposed to do the entire one. Of course you can if you want to, because kudos for that. I'm just planning on doing 2 of them so I can get 2 bingos. Specifically, I'm trying to do the column that is second from the right as well as the diagonal from the right diagonal. I will put an image here. I will make it more obvious. I guess it's kind of hard to explain, but those are the 2 that I'm trying to do to make a bingo. So starting off with the column from the second from the right, the first box is beautiful on the shelf, and this one is pretty self-explanatory. You just read a book with a beautiful cover. For this reading challenge, I decided to pick up The Chaos of Setting Sail. I love the color blue, and I think that this is actually a really pretty cover. There's actually snowflakes all over this, and I love the font as well. Plus this is also on my January/February TBR, so I wanted to just kill 2 birds with 1 stone essentially. So for those who haven't watched my other TBR, this one's about 2 people, 1 girl and 1 boy, who accidentally swap phones at this airport. I don't know why they swap phones or how they swap phones, but they accidentally swap phones somehow. And basically after that night becomes really bizarre as they try to figure out how to get their phones back, I'm guessing. And the entire time the girl is just thinking about this unread text message because it has something to do with her best friend and how she's like not moving on. So I'm really excited to see how this will go. This will also be a February group pick for my book club, so I'm technically killing 3 birds with 1 stone in a way, right? So I'm really excited for this one. Then the box under that box is Black History Month, and that basically is just to read a book by a Black author. So I'm actually planning on doing a reading vlog for the first weekend of February to celebrate Black History Month, and I actually did a poll on Twitter asking for help in terms of picking my next book. And this is the book that everyone picked end of the day. That's The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. So honestly, I'm a little worried about this book, mainly because it's written in poetry, like in poems, and I'm not the best when it comes to that, but I've heard amazing things about this book, and of course this book did win by a landslide according to that poll, so I will be picking up this book. So this book basically follows a girl called Xiomara Batista. I'm hoping I pronounced that first name correctly. Basically, she feels unheard and unable to hide in her Harlem neighborhood, and I guess as she grew up, she learned to talk using her fists rather than words. But then she pours all of her frustrations and her dreams into the pages of her notebook like prayers, so I'm guessing like poems. And then one day she's invited to her school's slam poetry club, and then from there, she learns to speak out. So I'm just really excited for this book. I have heard really good things about it and definitely can't wait to see what this book has in store for me. Then the box under that one is By Any Other Name, and that one is just to read a banned book. So for this challenge, I decided to go onto the ALA list of challenge/banned books, and I ended up picking Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I have read 2 of her books before, Fangirl, which I absolutely love. I gave that 5 stars. Then I read Carry On, what I absolutely hated. So I'm deciding how I would feel about this book, to be honest, but I plan to pick this one up as an audiobook. But I have heard really fabulous things about this book. I mean, on Goodreads it has what, 700,000 ratings and is over 4 stars. So with that in mind, I think this book will be good, but then again, who knows? Like her 2 books I've read have such vastly different impressions and reactions to them that I really don't know what to expect for this one. This book is literally described, according to Goodreads, 2 misfits, 1 extraordinary love. And it basically follows 2 star-crossed 16-year-olds who are smart enough to realize that first loves never last, but they are desperate and brave enough to try. So I'm really excited for it. Hopefully this book is as good as everyone has said it is, because, you know, my experience with the author has been really different, I guess, so excited for this one. Then the box under that one is More to Love, and that is to read a book over 400 pages. This one I'm just gonna do this one, The Chaos of Standing Still. This one has over 400 pages. I think exactly it has like 400 pages, I believe. 403, so just over it, which I'm really excited for, so I'll be picking up this book for that challenge. Then the last and final box under that one, which will make my first bingo, is Sharing is Caring. That is basically to read a book that will fulfill another challenge for another readathon that's happening in February. So for this one, I mean, I can literally pick any book possible, but I decided to just go with Circe by Madeline Miller, just because I do want to read this. I feel like I will read this for the first week because I want to get the double points, so pretty excited about this one. Then of course, because knowing me, I was like, I don't want to just do 1 bingo, I want to do 2 bingos. So I'm doing the one that's diagonal, and I'm going to start from the bottom up. This one is Happily Ever After, and basically you just read a retelling. So for this one, I just went through my January/February TBR, and I realized I did have a retelling book on there, which I was like, I was able to foresee everything, guys. So I decided to pick A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I'm so excited for. Also, I didn't realize how giant this book was. So I mean, I could have doubled this one up as well for the 400+ pages, because this one has almost 500 pages. So I'm really excited for this one. This looks so good and the cover looks gorgeous. I've heard amazing things about this book. I'm just really excited for a retelling because I love retellings, and Beauty and the Beast retelling, sign me up. Then the next box is to read a 5-star book, and that one is read a book that was recommended or rated 5 stars by a friend, a family, a foe, someone else, basically. So for this one, I feel that a lot of people have rated 5 stars. They either love it completely or they're not very impressed with it at all. But I decided to pick up The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This is an arc that I got from like 2 years ago, I feel like, and I'm really excited for this one. So this book has something to do with fairies, because Holly Black usually tends to write about fays in general. I believe it's about a girl who gets stolen away to the courts of fairy land or whatever, I have no idea, and something happens, love, betrayal, stuff like that, and we'll see how this goes. I've heard really good things about this book. I've just been putting it off because I hate waiting for what's to happen next, and from what I've heard, she tends to leave the readers at a really big cliffhangers for both books, so I'm kind of like hesitant about it, but I'm excited for it because now I can finally be in the loop when everyone talks about this book, so this will be the book that I'm picking out. So for the next 3 boxes, one of them is a duplicate, that is the Black History Month, so I already talked about that one. I'm not going to pick another book to fulfill that one. I'm just going to do the one that I'm planning on doing. Then the other 2 boxes are actually action boxes, which basically just means there's actually an action involved, not just reading. So the first of the action box is Framing the Fave, and that basically just means you take a picture of your favorite book and you post on social media. The second action box kind of correlates with that as well. Basically just means that you have to tag the them in social media. So obviously as I post a picture, I'm going to tag them as well. So I will be able to fulfill both actions in one go essentially. So that's basically it for my TBR for all the reading challenges I'm planning to do for the Valentines. So I'm finally at the last readathon that I plan to do for the month of February, and that is the Fierce Females Readathon. This one's very straightforward. There's a group book and then there's about like 5 or 6 challenges, and you just pick books that will correlate to each challenge. So the first challenge is to read the group book, and that is Moxie by Jennifer Matthew. I actually have no idea what this book is about, and I was originally going to do an audiobook for it, but I just looked online and there's no audiobook for it at the library, so I'm going to do it as an ebook. So I've actually never heard about this group book at all, and I just looked it up and it doesn't really seem that interesting to me at least, but it's about a girl called Vivian Carter who, I guess her mom is part of a punk rock band, and I guess following her mom's trend, which is all about feminism, she decides to start this girl movement, and the story is just all about that, which is great in theory, but I don't know, the synopsis of this book doesn't sound that good, but the purpose of it, the female girl power, everything like that does sound really interesting, so hopefully this book will be really great. But again, I've never heard about this, I don't know what to expect, so we'll see how that goes. Then the next reading challenge is to read a book with girl, woman, or female in the title, and for this one I decided to pick The Girl King by Mimi Yu. So I'm actually really excited for this book. This is an Asian inspired fantasy. It follows 2 girls who basically vie for the throne, except the thing is that originally one of the sisters was supposed to become the dynasty's first female ruler ever, but then their father ends up betraying both sisters by selecting another heir to become the ruler because that heir is male, and so one of them escapes or something like that to basically come back, form of some revolution, rebellion. I'm not really sure what happens there. The other one stays in the palace to kind of find a way to become the ruler, and there's just a lot of political intrigue, a lot of like family, sibling interest going on, and I'm just really excited about this book because it sounds so good. The next reading challenge is to read a book by a woman of color, and this one I'm just going to pick The Girl King by Mimi Yu because Mimi Yu is definitely a woman of color, and I'm just going to pick this one up. And the next reading challenge is to read a fierce female recommendation from the book community, and for this one I decided to pick Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Glenn Marsh. So I wanted to apply a lot of my original TBR to some of those reading challenges, and so I was going through some of the books and I did read some reviews that Odessa, who is the main character, is actually a badass, and I was like, well, badass, fierce females, that sounds like they correlate. So this book is all about necromancy. It follows a girl called Odessa who is one of the king's master necromancers, and I guess she just caters to the kingdom's ruling dead. So whenever a noble dies, her job is to raise them up from the dead, but the thing is they have to be completely shrouded. If even an inch of flesh is exposed, they become this grotesque monster which apparently drinks blood. And then I guess for whatever reason the number of these terrifying monsters grow. They're called shades, by the way, and they realize that there's some sort of conspiracy going on, and this book is all about that, and I'm just really excited for it. It looks really good. I have the second book, so I'm hoping to actually read both books sometime during the month of February, so really excited for this one. The next reading challenge is kind of a lengthy one, so I'm just going to read it off from my phone. It says, read a non-fiction book featuring or written by a fierce female, or a book based off women in history. So I'm not the biggest fan of nonfiction. I'm trying to read more nonfiction of course this year, but I didn't have a book really that I can really think that applied for this. So for this one I decided to go with the second half because I want to do something fiction, and this one seems to imply that I can do fiction. That's to read a book based off of women in history. I decided to go with Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly because this is actually inspired by a real World War II heroine, so I wanted to read a book that was actually based off of someone real, because I feel like a lot of the historical fiction I have, they're not actually based off of real people, and so for this one I feel like I still wanted to have some sort of like non-fiction element to it in terms of like having a real life person or inspired by, but then having like a fictional twist to it. So this book basically fulfills that. So specifically this book is based on the real life story of a New York socialite who is to champion a group of concentration camp survivors known as the Rabbits. So this book reveals a story of love, redemption, and terrible secrets that were hidden for decades, and honestly I've heard great things about this book. This book sounds really good, and I'm trying to read more historical fiction anyway, so this book sounds amazing. So the last and final challenge for this readathon is to read a book of a fierce female leading a resistance. This one I decided to go with The Girl King by Mimi Yu because, like I said in the synopsis, their father basically betrays them by selecting a male person, an heir, to become the ruler instead, and so one of the sisters, I believe, she actually goes off to form some sort of resistance because at the end of the day both sisters are actually trying to fight to reclaim their place for the throne. So I'm really excited for that. Really excited to see how this goes. So that's it. These are all the books that I plan to read for the month of February, in addition to, of course, to my original TBR, but I think I can do it. I'm definitely on a roll for February. I am in it to win it for Team Camp Half-Blood, so really excited to try to push myself and read as many books as possible, read as many pages as possible, and we'll see what happens. So anyway, that's all I have to say for this video. Let me know down below if you have read any of the books that I plan to read for the month of February for these readathons, or if you're going to be joining me on any of the readathons, specifically the booktube games, because, you know, if you are, let me know what team you are down below. But as always, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!